I love it. Dodd, what time did you get home today?
I actually got home about 10:30.
We're going live now.
Oop.
Hello, hello everybody. My name is Oscar Pardo. You guys may have seen me before in other programs. I am the co-chair of the program committee for Los Cien along with Ms. Pam Chanter. We are about to begin our second virtual program for 2021. We have a short little video to present to you first, and then we will be right back with our scheduled program. Well, welcome everyone to our second virtual program for 2021 for Los Cien, and it is a pleasure to have you all here today. We have two very distinguished gentlemen here who will be the subject of our conversation. My portion is a brief introduction to everybody. Thank you everyone who has helped us put this program together. Just a couple of logistics before we get started. There is for those attending on the Zoom, there is an interpretation button there. Ms. Betsy Chavez is handling the interpretations for us tonight. So if you want to hear this program in Spanish, you can click on that interpretation button and you will hear it. We will be taking questions along the way during this program. Questions can be submitted on Zoom in the chat function, and we have someone monitoring the Facebook Live feed. So you can also ask questions there, and we will make sure to send those over to our moderator as we are going through the program. Let's see. The program is also being broadcast live through KBBF radio, so you can listen to it there if you wish. Unfortunately, you can't ask questions on that forum, but you can certainly see it there, and we will be posting this program after we're completed here. And you can see it on the Los Cien's Facebook page once it's posted. Ms. Lani Medina, do we have you on? We do not. Well, let's see. I think she's coming on right now. There she is. All right, so now we are all set. Let me do my part to finish it off here and do an introduction. Our moderator today is Ms. Lani Medina. She is a founding board member of Los Cien and was one of those folks that Herman always refers to who were sitting in the back of Mary's Pizza Shack. She was appointed to the Human Rights Commission by Supervisor James Gore. She runs the Silicon Valley and Bay Area Hub for Global Tech Advocates, an organization dedicated to providing resources and connections for tech entrepreneurs and STEM students. She lives in Sonoma County with her husband, Alan Smithwick, daughter Olivia, and her two pugs, Charlie and Louie. And so, Lani, it's a pleasure. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. I wish I could see every one of you and hug you, but this will have to suffice for now. I hope you're all doing well. I am so honored to be moderating this session, and ironically, I moderated a similar one with the same folks in it about 4 or 5 years ago. So welcome to a very crucial update on economic relief and recovery for California and the Latinx community. Los Cien remains dedicated to raising the social economic status of the Latinx community. Committed to advancing inclusion and equity for Latinx, we work to accomplish this by engaging with the overall community, facilitating very honest dialogue, and elevating Latinx pride and power in Sonoma County and beyond. Los Cien keeps itself accountable to this mission with the Latinx scorecard released a few years ago, where advancements are tracked in the following areas: education, neighborhood engagement, health and the environment, political participation and representation, and financial stability. Tonight, we are primarily focused on current legislation that will increase financial stability. To sum this up, our vision for the Latinx community is orgullo, which means pride and equity. Addressing the COVID-19 pandemic has primarily focused on healthcare efforts. However, fostering Sonoma County's economic recovery is also key to overcoming this crisis. Los Cien continues the deep conversation on helping the Latinx community with star speakers tonight, Senators Bill Dodd and Mike McGuire. They will outline what efforts the state of California is currently undertaking to stabilize our local economy and promote a sustainable recovery in 2021. This is a message of hope in action. We are very grateful to have these authors and champions of several bills with us tonight. For those of you who are new to Senators McGuire and Dodd, just in case there are some out there, let me tell you very quickly about their acumen and successes. Senator Mike McGuire is a lifelong Californian who was raised by two strong and fierce women, his mother and grandmother. The three of them worked together through life struggles and rewards gracefully. Mike started working when he was only 16 to put himself through school, and now he is the third highest ranking member of the Senate and the youngest assistant majority leader in decades. A champion for our kids and public schools, Senator Mike also went to the mat and won against President Trump on offshore oil drilling. He led the charge in the legislature on wildfires and is a leading voice in holding PG&E accountable. He is very successful at securing resources to combat homelessness and build affordable housing in rural California. Mike and his wife, Erica, live in Sonoma County with their lazy pug, Gertrude. Gertrude es muy floja. Gertrude's peace will be happily invaded with a new baby very soon, so congratulations to Mike and Erica. And our dear Senator Bill Dodd was elected to present California's 3rd Senate District in 2016, a 5th generation Californian. He grew up on a family farm in Napa County and served as a Napa County supervisor for 14 years, where he completed Napa's flood control project, restored 900 acres of environmental wetlands, and produced $1 billion of investment in local businesses. So for you entrepreneurs out there, we got a good person here. Dedicated to public service, he is the chair of the Governmental Organization Committee, a member of the Transportation Committee, Energy, Utilities, and Communications Committee, and the Insurance Committee. Senator Dodd's work in the Senate and State Assembly includes improving public education, protecting seniors and the environment, authoring 67 laws in the last 5 years. He co-chaired the 2019 Conference Committee on Wildfire Safety and Prevention. And as a former local small business owner himself, Senator Dodd understands firsthand what entrepreneurs face. Senator Dodd and his wife Mary live in Napa, have 5 children and 10 grandchildren. So with that, I will now turn this over to you, Senator Dodd. Thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
Well, thank you very much. It's just such an honor to be here tonight. I've been with you in person a number of times. I do recall when you were the moderator when we were there over in Santa Rosa. And, you know, it's just an honor also to be here with Senator McGuire. And I do want to thank him. It's really good to be his friend, particularly now that he's on way up there in the leadership of the California State Senate. It's a really amazing you know, how hardworking he is. I wish you were my senator, frankly, Senator McGuire. But nevertheless, you know, I want to thank Los Cien for hosting us tonight. This is incredibly important that we get this information out. We know that people are hurting. My district covers portions of Sonoma and all of Napa County. And we know that the tourism and hospitality industry have been decimated. The steady jobs abundant in that industry might not come back for years to come. While schools remain closed, families struggle with childcare, not to mention the learning loss and poor grades that could imperil a student you know, going to college or even starting a career. Businesses face too much uncertainty to plan ahead and close permanently. California couldn't wait around for the federal government to send help. And we are thankful that that help is finally coming, from the federal government. We're thankful that the help is coming from a new president, a president that cares about every American. And I think that's incredibly important. And it feels really, really great to say that after all these years of uncertainty and just, it's been fraught with stress. And I know that. And this last year in the COVID environment hasn't been good, simply for anybody. And I'm very, very proud the California state legislator. I was mentioning to some of the people, the folks on the call early before we went on, we've been dealt a pretty good hand in the state legislature. And I think we could have done a number of different things. And I'm particularly proud of our Senate leadership that we got together and decided, no, it's not a time to, with the money that we have, to pay off bills and do other things. It's a time to help people in need. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you. Lanny, thank you very much for having me here.
Okay, so you should have in front of you your content brief, and if you could start. Thank you, Mike. It's nice to see you. You want to say a few words first?
Hey, what's going on, Lanny? And good evening. It is so wonderful to be with you, a fellow pug lover. And I got to tell you, both Senator Dodd and I are thrilled to be with you. And I would say this with Senator Dodd on, without him on, Senator Dodd works incredibly hard. He is so good at what he does because he takes this job personally. And he has an ability to be able to be a bridge builder, working with all sides of the aisle to be able to deliver for the North Bay. And there is no one better to be able to work with than Senator Dodd. And just want to say thank you, Senator Dodd, not just for being a partner in the legislature, but also for being a good friend. Here is the bottom line, and I want to echo where Senator Dodd is at. California is continuing to come out of this COVID-induced recession. We originally were above 12% unemployment. We're now below 7% unemployment. We're going to continue to see our unemployment levels drop, but it is clear that California is lagging behind the rest of the nation when it comes to economic recovery, which is why the legislature, working in collaboration with the governor, has just passed the largest economic recovery package in a generation, that it's going to invest in communities of color, that will invest in small businesses, that will be focused on the most vulnerable across the state, focusing in particular on farm workers, and then also expanding desperately needed funding in the billions of dollars for working families who are earning less than $30,000. Senator Dodd and I would like to be able to get into that today, because I think that you're going to see a significant shot in the arm for all Californians with this economic recovery package. I also believe that you're going to see an improvement here in the coming weeks when it comes to vaccine distribution. Just being candid, we're probably going to have another 4 to 8 weeks of some bumps, but we are well on our way to be able to expand bandwidth so that when we know those federal vaccines are going to be rolling in larger numbers, this state will be prepared for it. We'd love to be able to discuss that with you tonight. And in particular, how we're going to get vaccines distributed into the most vulnerable communities, whether it's communities of color, rural communities, disadvantaged communities. We'll be prepared to be able to have that conversation tonight as well. And again, Lanny, thank you for having us. We are so thrilled to be with you.
Well, mutual. So we have a packed agenda, and want to motor through this rather quickly. So first, if you guys would just share the stage, so to speak, and talk about the pandemic relief package that was signed on February 22nd. It was about 7.6 billion, correct?
It's now about 9.6 now.
Now it's 9.6. So if you could describe for the Latinx community exactly what is in that package and how it impacts them. Again, we're focused on our Latino scorecard and helping people with financial stability. And that includes home ownership and economic relief and so forth. So why don't you go ahead and talk about what that package is and exactly how it's going to be distributed. And do know that, yes, people are asking about how we can move into the next tier by further vaccinating more and having our vaccination profile map our demographics a little bit more closely. That's one suggestion from one of our attendees. So let you guys go to it, and then you can talk about SB 91, which is the Tenant Relief Act, dollars there. The Unpaid Water Bill Relief Act, SB 222, that's Senator Dodd. And then I know Senator McGuire, you've been working on the Commission on Home Hardening, kind of where is that and when that's going to start doing some things. And then after that, and we talk about maybe 2 sentences on it, it seems that the Economic Development Department is back for those in our community who have been furloughed. So that's exciting. I know that was a big agency rehaul in the middle of a pandemic. So congratulations to the state on that. Then we're going to go and head into how we impact small businesses, which therefore impacts our population by talking about SB 285, the Tourism Recovery Act. So let me shut up and let you guys take it from here. And I'm just really, really thrilled to hear about this 9.6 billion. That's a heck of a lot of money that's going to do a lot of great things.
Thank you, Lainey. Senator Dodd, do you want to kick off? How do you want to handle it?
I think we're both prepared to kick off. So what do you want? Whatever you want to do, I'm ready.
Go right ahead.
Well, I think that let me just start off by. I hope I'm still on here. Sorry, guys. Let me just start off. One of the things that I think that is so incredible is that there's so many different programs that reach so many different people in this, and it's all about equity. We've heard Governor Newsom talk about California for All since he was inaugurated, and I just think he's really stayed close to his values, frankly, and very proud of the fact that we have $600 checks for working Californians earning less than $30,000 a year. That goes to 3.8 million taxpayers who are eligible to receive the California Earned Income Tax Credit for the 2020 tax year. For undocumented folks, which is incredibly important, as we well know that they're a huge part of our economy. And this is something that our Senate leadership team and our Senate caucus in general really felt like was incredibly important, that we provide a one-time $600 tax refund to 575,000 tax-paying Californians who were excluded from the federal stimulus payments, such as undocumented households that file tax with an individual taxpayer ID number and up to $75,000 in income. The ITIN tax filers will also be eligible to receive $600 refund through the Earned Income Tax Credit, totaling $1,200 in relief payments after they file their 2020 tax returns. It also provides an additional 600 one-time grant to 405,000 families enrolled in CalWorks to help pay for housing, food, medical care, and other really important expenses. Senator, you want to kind of take it from there, or?
Absolutely. So look, I think that you're going to see a real balance in this package. We know that there has never been a time in this state or nation's history when there has been a greater divide between those who have resources and those who do not, which is why you just heard Senator Dodd talk about the investment that this state is going to make in the most vulnerable in our communities. And we also know that small businesses across the state are hurting more than ever. So the next piece where we're focusing are on expanding small business grants. So this is through a third-party organization that we brought on, the state has brought on, called Lindustry. We've advanced $500 million, invested into that program for up to $25,000 grants. All our grants, there are no loans associated with this. That has been so successful and candidly oversubscribed. The legislature, along with the governor, will be putting in an additional $2.1 billion into the small business relief program. These are grants that do not have to pay back. And we believe that this $2.1 billion, in addition to the $500 million, will be a significant shot of the arm for those businesses who have been impacted by the pandemic. In addition, a set aside in that 2.1 billion will be a $50 million set aside for cultural institutions. For example, museums, is community theaters, all who have been shuttered because of the pandemic, that will have their own category to be able to apply for these funds. Nonprofits are also eligible to be able to apply for these small business grants. And Senator Dodd, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think you would either. Look, we're in a really good time, and I know this sounds perverse. Our budget in the state of California has never been better. It's because those who have means, who are the wealthiest, are paying the most. So during this pandemic, those who have struggled have never struggled more than now. Those who have resources, candidly, have never been richer. So their corporate income taxes and their personal income taxes have flowed in to the tune of over 20 billion in surplus. So not only have we paid back our rainy day fund, 48% of the surplus has already gone to schools. Now we're focusing on how we're going to be able to help this economy recover. So small business grants, absolutely critical. I'll turn it over to Senator Dodd to talk about the next piece of this economic recovery package.
Yeah, there was actually more for individuals too. We provided a $600 one-time grant for 405,000 families enrolled in CalWorks to help pay for housing, food, medical care, and necessary expenses there as well. Provided an additional $600 to 1.2 million elderly, blind, disabled, and enrolled in supplemental security income, SSI, or the cash assistance program for immigrants. I think that's incredibly important. And we've already talked, the senator talked about the business relief grants. To me, I'm just very, very proud of the fact that, this was something that the state of California, even with businesses, I think that we've shown that we can do great work for people that really need it. But, I don't think in the history of particularly, we had an economic recession, of course, from, 2008 to 2013, which wasn't very pleasant for small business. And then, of course, we know that we've had fires and power shutoffs and smoke and school days off. And the North Bay has never, our business community has never, ever, ever been hit like it has, over the last year, to 5 years. And I think it was incredibly important to Senator McGuire and myself to make sure that we found a way to give back, to our businesses. And, I just hope, frankly, that it's not too late in many cases, because we know so many people are struggling.
And Lanny, we'll be really quick. There's just two or three additional programs that we'd like to quickly touch on, if it's all right. There's going to be $2 billion in tax cuts for any business that received the PPP loan from the federal government. So there's 750,000 businesses across the state of California that received the PPP loan. Much of that by the federal government has turned from a loan to a grant. The federal government is allowing full tax conformity, meaning that you can write off the full cost of your loan off your federal side of taxes. The state is going to be doing a hybrid of that. We're going to allow for partial conformity up to $150,000. So whatever you pay taxes on that went to employee costs, utility costs, or rent up to $150,000, you're going to be able to write off of your state side of taxes. Fee waivers. There's going to be 115 million in fee waivers to 659,000 businesses like barbershops, hair salons, restaurants, bars, you name it, here in the state of California for the next 2 years. We're also going to invest 24 million into farm worker programs for farm workers who have been impacted by COVID or their families to be able to apply for grants. And I'd like to turn it over to Senator Dodd to be able to talk about the child care fund grants, because this is absolutely critical to be able to keep our state subsidized child care organizations in business. And this is absolutely critical to be able to get families back to work. Senator Dodd?
Yeah, I'm going to have to have you go ahead and do that because I don't have that in my notes right now. The specifics, I certainly know about the programs, but very, very important part of our package. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I apologize, Senator Dodd. So look, long story short, 400 million, and this has been so important to the Senate, 400 million in funds, $525 per child to the over 400,000 kids that attend state subsidized childcare. So again, state subsidized childcare organizations, many of them nonprofit, have struggled tremendously because of the shutdowns. So this is going to be an additional $525 per child for all 400,000 kids attending a state subsidized childcare institution to help them get back on their feet. Let's just be candid. Until schools are reopened, childcare facilities are reopened, we're not going to be able to see full employment. Senator Dodd has been a champion on this as well. Senator Dodd, do you want to talk about that?
Well, no, we just have to get our kids back to schools. Obviously, we have so many parents that aren't working that want to work. There are some that are farming out their kids, and I just think now, even though we're in the purple tier, we see the rates going down. I do want to put a shout out. I saw today that the Santa Rosa School District, they're going back to school. This is something that's very important to our governor. It's very important to the legislature to get kids back into school. I really think when you stop to think about, the safety, and I know teachers everywhere are concerned about safety, and we're concerned about that as well. And we've dedicated some number of, I think it's 15% or so of the vaccinations for our teachers moving forward. But I just really want people to remember, even though it's stressful, and I've said this to teachers, sometimes you just got to speak the truth. And, the reality is there's been a lot of our wonderful, hardworking farm workers that have been working in the fields, a lot of people since March doing the heavy lifting for us so that we have food and different things, on our plates. We've had our grocery clerks that have been working in these conditions. And, I really think now, and frankly, I don't think anybody needs to get heavy handed. I think the teachers know that now, and they're feeling safer based on, the forward looking color coding that's coming. And I feel very positive about where we're going with this, with our vaccines and everything else.
That's really good to hear because our audience is typing in and they really want to move to the purple tier and better. I'm sorry, to the next tier up, red tier. It's been very difficult to just never get out of it. So something to think about as you go through your answers. So a couple more questions, which I'm going to weave in because it's more logical to do it than to hold them all to the end, which is where can folks go to get more information on all these grants? Do they just continue with the agencies that they're in? What are some of the agencies? And then I have a question about and it may seem a little premature since you just came out with this, but let me go for it anyway, which is, do you see a need for a second phase of stimulus, or are you going to do a wait and see approach and kind of evaluate and then go back to that? Because this is a pretty big deal.
Well, let me answer that last question. Certainly if we have the money to do it and the wherewithal to do it, as I said in a previous outreach to Los Cien, the state of California, we don't print money like the federal government. And we're very fortunate now to have new leadership, as I said, in the federal government that's willing to put money in to help people all throughout, with an equity lens on that. And, in the state, if we have the money, I really feel like we will be able to do it. But, at the end of the day, we had a windfall, as Senator McGuire so aptly described. We are going to use the lion's share of that to help people and businesses in the state. And we're just going to have to, wait and see. What we're hoping, though, is that, Rome wasn't built overnight, and our economy is not going to be built overnight. But I think people are starting to be a little bit more excited about where we can be, for example, after July, perhaps when we're all vaccinated.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
I was just going to add, no, you're absolutely right, Senator Dodd. So look, on the small business grants, so many businesses have already applied for those small business grants, small business relief grants, the 500 million. If you've already applied, you do not need to apply again. So that 2.1 billion will cover those individuals who've already submitted their application. So you do not need to apply again. We are going to send tomorrow, Senator Dodd and I, Los Cien, the email that they can get out to all members. If you have not applied through Lindustry, the link in which you can do so. So we'll make sure that Senator Dodd and I will follow up providing that link. The second piece on PPP conformity, here's the great thing about this. You're not going to have to you don't have to go through a third-party vendor. The Franchise Tax Board, I'd say in the next 90 to 120 days, will post an addendum form on their website. It will be up to individual taxpayers to be able to amend their 2020 filing. Knowing that this PPP conformity is coming, the Franchise Tax Board has already started working on this. So what we would suggest is consult your tax professional. And that form will go live to amend your taxes if you're one of those 750,000 businesses here in the next 90 to 120 days. The last thing I'll say on this, Senator Dodd is absolutely right. And what the legislature, the Senate has been working on is you will also see enhanced tax cuts through PPP conformity for those hardest hit businesses, bars, restaurants, hair salons, nail salons, et cetera. And that will most likely go live next week. And that's something that both Senator Atkins, the president of the Senate, Speaker Rendon, and the governor announced yesterday. More details to come first thing next week.
Awesome. So from one of your favorite restaurants in Sonoma County, the owner is asking if you have any more information specifically about how businesses can apply for the grants that haven't already. Obviously, if they have already, they know what they're doing. But if you want to, if you can just add that link into what you're sending to us, we will get it out to these folks, and then everybody will know what to do, and we won't take time up with it now. So you want to move on to the tenant, any of the Tenant Relief Act, the water bill, or you want to go straight over to the tourism bill, which is also extremely exciting.
Senator Dodd has a wonderful bill on the Utility Bill Relief Act. It's absolutely critical. Senator Dodd, if it's all right with you, Ms. Medina, Senator Dodd would cover that. Then I get into the Tenant Relief Act.
Fantastic. You know, it's something that when I was in the California State Assembly, you know, representing Lake County, and Senator McGuire represents them in the Senate now. But when I was in Assembly, I was really struck by how many people were up there, particularly retired people on Social Security, you know, senior citizens obviously not working, disabled, whatever, having water bills of $300, $400, $500, $100 plus every single month. And it was something that was really amazing to me, how many people would come to me and talk to me about it. I just felt like honor bound, duty bound to do something about it. So over the last 6 years, I've had a series of bills. And these bills are really hard to get across the finish line because they cost a lot of money. But basically what we've been able to do is through what I call incrementalism, just starting off slow and easy. You know, we had a water data bill. So what we wanted to do is first, let's have the government do a study and see that this is a problem, not just a problem that an assembly member, you know, brought that nobody knows about it. And lo and behold, Water Resources, you know, went forward and found that there indeed was a great problem. And Governor Jerry Brown at the time championed my bill actually and made it part of his package for, you know, drinking water is a human right for every single Californian, and nobody should go without drinking water. But let's fast forward to today. We have, even before COVID-19, of course, we had water rates that were big problems throughout the state of California. We had people that were getting their water shut off. There was no standards for that. 2 years ago, I created a bill that's, maybe it was even last year. It was a long year last year. But at any rate, but seriously, in the last couple of years, I had a bill that really set standards for how a water company could, turn somebody's water off. Really strict standards. But at the same time, keeping in mind that these water companies need to stay in business too, and they need to be paid. So we needed to have a little bit of balance there. So fast forward to this year, I just felt like with $1 billion in water debt is what we have now after a year of COVID-19 throughout the state of California, $1 billion. And so essentially I've got two bills in this area. SB 222 sets up a water affordability assistance program and the related affordability assistance fund in the state treasury. And we can take money from the federal government, from the state. There's no allocation from the state. This is incrementalism this year. I want to get it passed. I want to get the fund set up. We'll worry about a state contribution to this another day. But there's $67 million of federal money that can go into this right now. And we just need to get the relief. So this sets up the account, and it also extends this bill to the very, very smallest in 223 to the very, very smallest water systems in the state of California to help those people more in rural areas like, Lake County and, further, all the real rural areas of the state of California.
Awesome. You want to move on to the tourism bill? You have anything else to cover on the EDD? Anything that might impact people who are furloughed, who are trying to get back to work? This is all very exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, thanks, Ms. Medina. Look, I think very quickly, I'm going to hit two issues, and that's the Tenant Relief Act, and then secondly, the hospitality bill. So I'll do this in less than 2 minutes in regards to the Tenant Relief Act. So what we were facing is on January 31st, that was the previous deadline for tenants not to face eviction. There's 4 million Californians facing homelessness at the end of January. We had to move quickly to be able to get a deal done, to be able to move forward on keeping tenants in their homes, as well as paying back rent that was due since the beginning of the pandemic. So here's what was advanced. The bill will keep 4 million Californians in their home.
Wow.
It will pay 80% of all back rent for any individual who's making 80% of the area median income. So $2.6 billion total that will go for that back rent. Now, in return for a landlord accepting that back rent, the tenant is able to stay in that unit through June 30th. So a critical extension. In what we know, this is going to help the most vulnerable Californians who are literally living paycheck to paycheck in the state of California. Quickly on the issue of hospitality and tourism. So long story short, in 2019, $145 billion was spent by visitors in the Golden State. And our hospitality and tourism economy generated about $12.3 billion in local and sales taxes. Fast forward to 2020, it's been cut in half. In fact, the economic fallout of this pandemic on the hospitality industry is 10 times worse for the hospitality industry than what we saw after the 9/11 attacks. So if you take a look at the hospitality industry, they employ 1.2 million workers across the state. That's what they did in 2019. Fast forward to today, 600,000 remain on unemployment. 1/3 of the entire unemployment roles in this state are hospitality workers. And we have seen a 60% decline in visitor spending in 2020, down by $85 billion, a loss in $6.6 billion in tax revenue for locals as well as the state. So here's what's going to happen. The state of California, if we can pass this bill, SB 285, it would invest one-time $45 million when the California Department of Public Health deems it is safe to travel to help market California. This was done after the 9/11 attacks. In 2001, California invested just under $9 million. That $9 million turned into $3.2 billion in visitor spending, 10.6 million in tax revenue, and California is one of only 3 states in the entire nation to see an increase in tourist traffic. Again, this pandemic has cratered our tourism economy. And
Yes.
what we know is, in particular, those hospitality workers are from communities of color. And we know that this will help get California's tourism economy back on its feet and help our communities recover from this recession. So that's why you see everything from the California Hotels Council to Teamsters, the labor union representing hotel workers, supporting this bill. It's a broad coalition, and it's critical that we get this funding.
Understood. Senator Dodd, you want to add anything to that?
Well, I just think, the other thing that just to underscore, and this is something that I thought it was incredibly important, because during I'm going to go back to the Tenant Relief Act. It was really incredibly important that, we don't want anybody to have, to be kicked out of their home. We already know that we have an affordable housing crisis here in the state of California. We have a homelessness problem that's totally and completely out of control. And the last thing we want to do is get out the end of this pandemic and have more homeless because we didn't think outside the box and try to find a way to protect tenants that had no way of paying their rent during this time. So Senator McGuire really outlined very, very well the program, but I also appreciate that the fact that we also stepped up and really gave that incentive to our landlords, our small landlords in particular. Senior citizens, that's their only income, for example. They might own 1 or 2 houses, and that's how they get along, in life. And frankly, had we not done it with balance, we would have had some real serious issues. I might also add that even without regulation, the banking industry has really been steadfast in not foreclosing, on businesses, on small landlords, in the like. And I think, we always try to find a way to regulate, to try to have that insurance policy so that the unknown doesn't happen. But I like to call out people to do the right thing when nobody's looking. And I think the banks have done extraordinarily well. And we all know in previous downturns, that actually has not been the case.
We've got someone, a very big business person in the Latinx community asking about how to make California more competitive. I will tip my hat a bit and say that this entrepreneur is very successful in the restaurant business. But what can we do to just make things a little bit more competitive, bring people in? And add to that, I was going to ask you, what can we in the Latinx community, what can organizations like Los Cien do to help all of this along? And it's absolutely fine to say, wear your dang mask, get your vaccines. I'm headed down that road because we have a little bit of time to address this kind of thing, but you guys are on the hot seat a lot. You've put some phenomenal things together. Senator McGuire, if I give you my budget, can you scrape up $1 billion out of my budget that I can allot to something else? You're hired, right? But this entrepreneur really wants to understand that sort of just more competitive. Is this going to come through your tourism recovery act? What can we do in the Latinx community? How can we get the word out there? Let's work on this together.
Well, let's start with, and thank you for bringing it up. And I know people are really tired of hearing wear the damn mask, stay 6 feet apart. Folks, with all seriousness, I know that Senator McGuire is optimistic as I am moving forward, looking at what we're doing. Look, it hasn't been smooth by any stretch of the imagination, the rollout of the vaccines, but I think it was really also fair for him to say, it may be a little, another 4, I hope it's not 8 weeks, Senator, but let's just hope it's 4 weeks of rocky road, and we are getting better with My Turn and these other organizations like, Kaiser and Blue Shield, leading the way. I had a really incredible briefing yesterday by Blue Shield and the secretary assigned to this, Yolanda Richardson. And I came away with a lot of confidence. My confidence was not high going into that meeting. My confidence going out was very, very incredibly high. So, but even if we stay in purple in Sonoma County, we are not going to see the kind of things that our business community needs to see. And we know that wearing a mask works. We know the 6 feet of social distancing works. We know that, frankly, I'm not even sure that our business community, I really do believe, frankly, from what I've seen, they do a great job of keeping people safe within their businesses. But the reality is when we get home or we have families and friends that are doing this, we've just got to stay vigilant on this, because what it does when we're not vigilant and we get together as families outside the guidelines, we create more spread. It puts pressure on our schools. They have more infections. They shut down our schools. This is all possible, in our future, even right now, if we don't do the right things. And I'm not trying to be a downer on this, but it's just incredibly important. And we put at risk family businesses, Latinx businesses that are in our communities, every business that are in our communities. And so we just have to continue to stay vigilant. Let's keep it down. I mean, Sonoma County has not been out of purple yet.
Right.
And so if that's not the Board of Supervisors' fault, that's not the Senate's fault, that's not even, I probably could blame a lot of it on President Trump. I'm sorry. Ex-President Trump, but we're not going to go there tonight. But nevertheless, we have to do it for our community, to all our cities in the county. We just absolutely have to do this so that we can get ahead. Senator?
No, you're absolutely right, Senator Dodd. Look, I think 4 quick points where I think, and Senator Dodd just touched on several of these. I think we're facing, we've never faced what we're facing now with the COVID economy, and especially with folks working remotely. And that has made us all look inwards into what can we and what must we do better to be able to establish a healthier business climate. So number one, we got to get these dollars out on the street for small businesses. 90% of businesses in the state of California, according to GoBiz, 50 employees or less. That's the heart of the California economy. We have to focus on that, which is why you're seeing record investment in small business relief grants, record investment when it comes to the PPP funds. 2, we can't just talk about business. We also have to talk about people.
Right.
And that is why you're also seeing an equitable share of this economic recovery focus on the most vulnerable. If we put money into the hands of the most vulnerable, because they can't afford to save, because they need to put food on the table for their kids, because they have to pay their car payment, pay their rent, we know that money will immediately circulate in the economy as well and do good for those families. So we needed to have an equitable approach when it comes to economic recovery. 3, we're not going to be a competitive state until we focus on housing. Let's just be blunt about that. So we need to continue to focus on housing policies in this state that's going to advance housing for middle income families, service workers. That's why the Senate is advancing a robust, the most aggressive housing package that we've seen in over a decade that would help streamline the approval process of housing, market rate, as well as affordable, and why the Senate is going to bring forward an affordable housing bond this year. We are short 1.5 million affordable rental units between 2015 and 2025. And then finally, and this is what Senator Dodd said so eloquently, if we don't get our act together on vaccinations, then we're in real trouble. Again, not trying to be political, but we finally have a partner in the White House who's investing 100% of all costs of expanding vaccination sites across the state. We need to be prepared over the next 4 to 8 weeks when we see enhanced vaccinations coming in. We need to prepare to have the bandwidth to get those shots into arms that will help businesses reopen and help us thrive longer term. So I think those are some points where both Senator Dodd, myself, the Senate are very focused on strategically reopening and safely reopening our economy.
And I think also, Lanny, one other thing too, the questioner, the businessman that asked a question about what we can do, you might have sensed my surprise at the legislature and the California state government really stepping up for landlords and really stepping up for businesses. Because quite frankly, I was a 25-year businessman before I got into public service. And, frankly, I think that the government just has to let business do the business and quit with the regulations that continue to raise the cost. And I'm telling you, I couldn't be more proud, particularly of our California State Senate, who has advanced these initiatives for the support for our local businesses. And I really think the attitude in many, many cases, has changed in the legislature. In fairness to the legislature too, is one of the things I learned when I got here. Is look, sometimes in regulating business, you're doing that to make sure that, for example, workers aren't taken advantage of, or that everybody gets, family leave, and some of those things that I think are incredibly important for, everybody living a quality of life, regardless, of what your status in life is. And so it's kind of like an equity for all. But I'm really seeing more positive things going, from the state, back to business. And so, again, I'm encouraged. I'm positive, and we'll keep working hard for small business.
Okay, so we do have a lot of requests for us to pivot a little bit to basically the funding around the schools and school reopening. And we do have a few minutes for you all to talk about anything you can give us some hope about reopening schools and, some normalcy there. And then back to going up a tier. Maybe, some of those metrics are pretty set in stone, but if you look at the trend line where it's based on testing for COVID and people are doing less testing as vaccinations go up, I would just have to trust that the people in charge of that whole area are taking that into account, and that is not holding us back from reopening. So let's stay with schools first and tell us what you can, hope, thoughts, ideas. And I do want to also reflect that from I've got many channels, distribution channels coming at me with questions. People want to know how Los Cien can help and how the community overall can help. So that is still going on. Okay, you guys take it away.
So look, I'll be quick and then turn it over to Senator Dodd. We're making progress on reopening schools. And let me just first acknowledge, this has been probably the toughest year for parents, for kids, for teachers throughout, right? Nothing has been ideal. Yeah. And I think a lot of folks are pretty crispy at this time. They're burned out. Right. And we got to get schools open safely and strategically. So you're going to see, I really do believe, and I think Senator Dodd, I don't want to put words in your mouth, I think we're making progress on getting a global deal done to reopen schools in the state of California. That's the good news. We're getting close. Number two, you're going to see significant funding put onto the table that will be flexible for districts, right? So flexible for districts to be able to extend the school year into the summer, extend summer school, be able to help fund one-on-one tutoring or counseling, be able to purchase additional digital devices, trying to make it as flexible as possible for teachers, classified staff, administrators, and school boards to be able to work together to be able to advance solutions that fit for their community. So California has a right to be frustrated. Our thought is we got to get this right. And I think that we are all ready to be able to move forward as quickly as possible. There's a lot of balance in this reopening plan. I think you're going to see progress here shortly. I think you're going to see significant funding put onto the table. I think that funding is going to be pretty damn flexible for districts to be able to utilize. And we also have to focus on TK, preschool, daycare. That's why you saw the state advance 400 million, putting that on the table to be able to move forward for those 400,000 kids. They're going to rely on state-sponsored childcare and preschool to help keep them afloat. So more progress here coming up, and we don't mean we're not trying to be coy. It's just they're pretty close, but it's always about these final details, and we commit to you that it's being worked on day and night. Senator Dodd?
Yeah, I think that's a great explanation. I've been an ardent supporter of this governor on this issue. I think he was right. But nevertheless, when you have different interests, just like interest-based bargaining, I think even the governor has seen here that when you've got so many people at the table, you've got the governor who really, none of this have been of our governor's making. None of these issues, wildfires, pandemic, all these different things. And he has, in my view, really done an amazing job. That said, he's got to work with the legislator, and we have legislators on our budget committee that have somewhat of a different idea. And we also have teachers, the teachers union, not only statewide, but locally, and have lots of different ideas on how they'd like to see it work. And then you've got school boards that aren't necessarily aligned with them, at all either. Yeah. And then you've got parents, and we know that parents want their kids back into school. But let me just tell you, I put an op-ed piece out on social media, and I was amazed at how many parents came back on me that were scared to death to send their kids to school.
Yeah.
That didn't want any part of that, and that wanted to wait until we were more certain. But what's really worked out well in these negotiations was the fact at the time they were started, we were still in a shutdown. And now we're kind of coming down on the curve, and the teachers are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And they've come to the table and done a remarkable job in negotiating. And so have the school boards. The parents are kind of coming together. So I see good things ahead. I would say that perhaps maybe, Senator, by next Thursday, we could have something in front of us to approve. That's my hope.
It's moving quickly, that's for sure. And look, again, folks have a right to be frustrated, all sides. Parents, students, teachers, classified, but we are committed to be able to get this reopening plan done, and we're getting close. So I think that's it's really critical. And again, I think the other piece that need to stress, the funding will be flexible, right? So that it works for districts, it works for teachers, it works for parents, and it's not just a one size fits all approach. There's going to be significant funding on the table to be able to assist with reopening, to be able to assist with the enhanced cost. And by the way, also to allow just what Senator Dodd just said, if a parent and a student still concerned in regards to going back to school, that those school districts aren't penalized. And that's why I think you'll see a lot of local control in this as well. Senator Dodd, anything you want to push back on?
No, except for, I know you're in the top 3 in the leadership, and I just heard what you said, and I'm sure Senator McGuire knows way more than I do on when this thing's going to be done.
There you go. So I just want to, a lot of people ask you guys for things, and you are working so hard, and I just want you to know how appreciated you both are. So in the comments we have, for example, the Robledo family saying thank you so much for what you do, how much they support you. You have the Diaz family asking questions and just really honoring who you are. And Los Cien is the same. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Want to give you an opportunity to do any closing comments, and then remind everybody that this entire piece is real time being translated by Betsy Chavez from the Hannah Institute. So you are hitting the bilingual audience. And then I'll ask Senor Oscar Pardo to close us out. So why don't you all two, senators, give us any closing thoughts, hopes, requests, whatever you want. It's your time. And we're pretty much running on time, so this is good.
Go ahead, Senator Dodd. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Well, let me start, and I'll let our leader close it up. First of all, I am so grateful just to be on this call with all of you tonight. And while I think that we've given you much reason to hope, I think we've also given you a lot of reasons to keep trying, and particularly on the safety issues. We also know, and this is certainly not to bum anybody out, but both Senator McGuire and I are working really hard on the wildfire stuff.
Yes.
All things home hardening, prescribed burns, just on insurance issues. We're learning that our businesses throughout our community are having a hard time getting insurance. That's wineries. It's really incredible. So, on the COVID thing, I guess what you could say is we're walking and chewing gum at the same time, because we're working here on the COVID stuff, but at the same time, we've got things in our future that could really impact folks very, very negatively. And we're going to see this through. We're going to see these public power safety shutoffs situations. Senator McGuire's worked very hard on that over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's incredibly important to us that we solve that issue as well. So I just really am appreciative of the opportunity to be with you all, and you have the opportunity to get my email address and phone number, and really willing to talk to you anytime. I see that the mayor of Rohnert Park is in the house tonight.
That's right.
Gerard, you'll be happy to know that I've got a bill that will allow restaurants to continue selling cocktails out the door after the pandemic, just because one bill isn't a silver bullet, but a lot of these things that our legislators are doing throughout the state of California for restaurants hopefully will be a patchwork quilt of legislation. There'll be a shot in the arm. I'm not talking about a vaccine yet, but I'm talking about a good shot in the arm to help them on economic recovery, because that's where we are. We need them open. We need them employing people and paying people. And just thanks, everybody.
Look, you could not pick a better person to be able to go through such challenging times with than Bill Dodd. We have been together through fires, multiple fires, floods in this pandemic. And I don't ever want to sound too sappy, but it is absolutely sincere. You could not pick a better person to be able to go through these rough times with. And I am just so appreciative to be able to work with Senator Dodd. And thank you, Senator. And also, it's so true. And just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for allowing this as an opportunity, one, to be with you, and to be able to have this opportunity, especially now, to be able to work with you to help deliver and help rebuild our economy, focus on housing, tackle our homelessness crisis, and as Senator Dodd just mentioned, focusing on wildfire. Senator Dodd and I sit on the wildfire working group in the state Senate. Senator Dodd has been incredibly humble. He's been an absolute leader in the legislature on all issues of wildfire, on utility reform, and we're working together right now on the Senate's blueprint for a fire-safe California. In fact, we'll be releasing that here in the first part of the week, putting out our blueprint on how we can make our communities in this state more fire resilient, which is absolutely critical. We burned 4 million acres last year, 4 million acres in the state of California. The smoke, it was equivalent to the emissions of 28 million vehicles. We have to become much more focused on fire prevention and response, and that's something that Senator Dodd and I are attached to the hip on. The last thing I'll say is this: in addition to all issues of reopening school, tenant relief, making sure that we're getting the vaccinations out, we're not going to lose sight of our housing crisis. We're not going to lose sight on investing enhanced resources to tackle our homelessness crisis. We have 151,000 residents calling the streets of California home every damn night. It's unacceptable. And so we have not let our eye off of those top issues. And we look forward to working with Los Cien. And got to tell you, Los Cien is a leader in the North Bay when it comes to advocating for issues, not just for the Latino community or communities of color, but making sure that we are a more equitable society. Just want to say thank you for your leadership.
All right, Oscar, and to you too, to Senators, abrazos from so many people, and thank you, God bless. And Oscar, why don't you close us out, hon?
Thank you, Lanny. And yes, thank you once again, Senator Dodd and Senator McGuire, for carving out some time with us. You've always been gracious in coming to our programs. And it is so great to hear, just sitting back and listening, the amounts of, as Senator Dodd said, no pun intended, shots in the economic arm that are coming our way. It's great to hear that those efforts are being put forth by the legislature, and we're hoping that we can do our part to move that along the way. So with that said, we thank you once again. Los Cien is very happy to have you here. I will do a little plug-in for the folks who are still here. Our next program will be happening on March 25th. So it is a save the date for you folks. We will be having Congressman Mike Thompson and Congressman Jared Hoffman give us their take, as well as our state senators did, on economic relief from the federal government and anything else that is happening there. So we thank you again for spending your evening with us, and we wish you a happy weekend, and thank you everyone for joining. Good night.
Bye, ciao.